Have you ever wondered what determines the price of Bitcoin? And when I say Bitcoin, I only have the true, original Bitcoin in mind, Bitcoin Satoshi Vision, BSV. I specifically exclude BTC and Bitcoin Cash. I only refer to BSV because it is the same Bitcoin that was described in the original Bitcoin white paper and the only implementation of Bitcoin that uses the original Bitcoin protocol, the one designed to be a global electronic cash system. Hi, my name is Marquez. I am the founder of a website called BSV Search, a website where you can offer to buy and sell goods and services in BSVs. In this video, I'll share with you an understanding, an insight that I had about Bitcoin, and it made me start a website like BSV Search. And it begins by asking what determines the price of Bitcoin. We start with basic economic theory. The price of anything in a free market is determined by how much of it is available and how much of it is demanded by those who want to acquire it. On the left here is a typical representation of a demand curve for most items being traded in a market. The right shows the supply curve of Bitcoin BSV. A typical demand curve for most things being traded in a free market is represented by a declining line. Notice that on this graph, the vertical scale, the y-axis, is the price of Bitcoin in US dollars. The horizontal axis, the x-axis, is quantity demanded. Actual demand curves can be derived by surveying the quantity that people would buy of a particular item at different price points and plotting them on a graph. You take the average and you get the demand curve, which tends to look like a curve instead of a straight line. Looking at this chart, therefore, we can say that at a high price, fewer and less people will be willing and able to buy Bitcoin. At a lower price, many more people can afford and will buy Bitcoin. When there are more and more people using Bitcoin, demand for it increases, and this can be represented by the demand curve shifting to the right. And if less people use it, its demand curve shifts to the left. Let's now look at the supply of Bitcoin. Just before Bitcoin was released in 2009, the supply of Bitcoin was 0. After Bitcoin's first release, Bitcoins were distributed with every mined block added to the Bitcoin blockchain. About 19 million BSVs are already in circulation at the time of making this video. And if Bitcoin is still around in 2140, the last Bitcoin will have been distributed and all 21 million Bitcoins will be circulating in the global economy. Side by side, this is what the demand and supply curves for Bitcoin look like. And since they have the same x and y axis, we can actually draw them on the same chart. When we do this, we see that the quantity demanded for Bitcoin intersects its supply, and where they intersect is called the equilibrium price. Today, we know that the equilibrium price is around $50 US, because that's its current market price. Now, let's see what happens if more and more people trade Bitcoin every day. As the demand curve for BSVs increases, its demand curve shifts to the right, and the price goes up, because more and more people will want it and need it. This means that those willing to acquire it will bid higher and higher prices. People selling BSVs would prefer and accept a higher price for their Bitcoins. If even more people want to acquire Bitcoin, the buying pressure continues and the price increases even higher. And the more people using Bitcoin every day, the more the demand curve shifts to the right and the equilibrium price shifts even higher. For Bitcoin BSV to maintain a steady sustained price increase, demand for it must increase steadily and consistently. Currently, BTC and all cryptocurrencies have experienced tumultuous price fluctuations. This is because most of the transactions have so far been to gamble and to trade. The price of Bitcoin fluctuates depending on the fear and greed of people. If there's good news about Bitcoin, they think that the price of Bitcoin will go to the moon, and they're willing to pay high prices to acquire it. Alternatively, if they hear bad news, people become fearful and they start selling at whatever price they can. It depends on the worst scenarios they can imagine. So as a result, the price of BTC and cryptocurrencies rise quickly and crash spectacularly within mere days or hours. But when people begin to price the items they need for their daily lives in Bitcoin, then all of a sudden, the value of Bitcoin is tied to the prices in the real economy. If you bought a car for say 100 BSVs today, and you want to sell it tomorrow, you'll sell it for at least 100 BSVs because it's the same car and your appraisal of its value has not changed. You can always wait because having a car is still useful, you can still use that car for something else, or you can exchange it for something else apart from BSVs. Now, transactions that lead to stable and consistent price increases are regular transactions, frequent transactions that are important, useful, and necessary. Examples of such transactions are when you do your grocery shopping every week, or when you get a haircut every month. These types of transactions also occur when you pay your bus or train fares to travel to and from work every day, and when you pay your rent, your water bill, or your power bill every month. When people begin to use Bitcoin for these transactions, there are more pressure for the price of Bitcoin to become less volatile. People will begin transacting Bitcoin for around the same value it was trading the day before for convenience and practicality. If you paid 1/10 of a Bitcoin for a bottle of milk yesterday, it would be easier for the buyer and seller to trade milk at the same price in Bitcoin today, rather than having to renegotiate every day. And this is how the price of Bitcoin will stabilize. It will fluctuate as market prices do, but the oscillations will narrow. One way to understand which types of transactions are likely to lead to a more stable and sustained price rise of Bitcoin BSV is to consider Maslow's hierarchy of human needs. It was developed by an American psychologist named Abraham Maslow. He identified 5 layers of human needs. These 5 layers can be stacked on top of each other in a pyramid. At the bottom of the pyramid are our most basic needs, our physiological needs, the things that we need to survive. We need food and water, we need to be sheltered, and we need clothes to keep us warm. After our physiological needs are met, we must ensure financial and personal security. We want to have a steady source of income, we want to live in a safe house in a safe neighborhood, and have access to medical and hospital facilities in case we or any of our loved ones are sick or become ill. After this, we have emotional and psychological needs. We want to hang out with family and friends, do some social activities, eat out, buy each other gifts, and do sports and other forms of recreation with other people. After these needs are met, we can dare to dream and plot goals to reach our ambitions, whether it is to hone our artistic or creative talents, or become one of the best in whatever field we choose. So, if most people use Bitcoin to serve more fundamental needs, the more we can expect the price of Bitcoin to steadily and consistently go up as its value begins to represent tangible goods and services that thousands of people need and use every day. This was not achieved because up until now, no blockchain or cryptocurrency projects could handle the number of transactions needed to facilitate the volume of the transactions necessary to support people in transacting in practical and valuable ways. BTC, the blockchain which many people presume is Bitcoin, is left crippled with a tiny 1 megabyte block, and it can only handle 7 transactions per second. It was only until Satoshi Nakamoto, Dr. Craig Wright, his friend Calvin Ayre, and their various teams and companies worked to restore the original Bitcoin protocol in BSV that the world now has, again, an implementation of Bitcoin capable of much higher transaction volumes. Today, the Bitcoin Satoshi Vision electronic cash system can handle as much as 100,000 transactions per second, surpassing what Visa and many other cryptocurrency projects can do. Bitcoin as BSV is ready to serve individuals, businesses, countries, and the entire world to use it as an electronic cash system which is capable of sending millions of payments, especially micropayments, worldwide, much more cheaply and quickly than ever before. Finally, Bitcoin can support the types and volume of transactions that are important and useful to people's lives. And if you want to be part of this transformation, get yourself a BSV or 2 or 3 and help build its economy. You do not need to be a business person. You don't even need to be a programmer or do anything more special than what you are doing now. You can help yourself and participate by as simple as using true Bitcoins, BSVs, to buy and exchange for the things you normally need to live, work, and earn a living.